Hi guys, I'm Matt from Cloud B&E, and I'm about to show you a film that we created in Unity and ARKit. And I'll show you behind the scenes as well as the film itself, and we'll go straight into the film right now, and then we'll run you through how we did it. All right, making films in AR with Unity and ARKit. So that was all created in Unity, the same engine that you use to create games. And as you'll find out in the next 45 minutes, it's actually simpler to create that than one of your games. Just as a show of hands, do we have game developers in the room? Just put your hands up if you're a game developer. Directors, film, cinematographers, students, professionals, what do we got? Okay, all right. So good cross-section of the room, all right. I'm pretty sure all you can do this, which is probably doing me out of a job, but I'm pretty sure you could. And it's my job for the next 45 minutes to convince you. Okay, so Defiant Dimension, as I mentioned earlier, was shot exclusively using Unity and ARKit. There was no After Effects. I've got a strong background in visual effects, obviously using Adobe's After Effects. It was probably the hardest thing when I first started the project, was actually staying away from Adobe, because that's my go-to. That's what I've done for the last, I don't know, 15 years. It actually just leveraged the game knowledge that I had. Obviously, I've released lots of games, lots of apps, lots of augmented reality for corporates all around the world. But this, instead of it just being a 15-second clip that I post on Instagram or Twitter for our followers, wanted to make something from start to finish, and something that was exclusively augmented reality. So it was all about a personal challenge. There's no color correction, so I haven't gone through in Premiere or whatever other tool and color corrected anything. That's actually how it's shot. I use Premiere to cut it, but there's very, very basic editing techniques in it. There's nothing fancy. It's simple fade in, fade out. It's pretty much anyone could edit it like I did. There was no budget. I made it for next to nothing. There was no specialist hardware. The phones in your pockets will probably be more powerful than the phone that created this film, and we'll more on that later. And most of all, no shortcuts. I set myself those guidelines, and I wasn't going to break them no matter what. Most of all, no excuses. And that was just a personal, I guess, mantra where I wasn't going to cut corners no matter what. The software I use, Unity 2017.4, ARKit 1.5. Obviously, there's 2018 out now, ARKit 2.0. Used an iPad for most of it, actually. So an iPad can't even do 4K. iPads barely do 1080p, which for a film is pretty impressive. And I use an iPhone 6s. So hands up, who has an iPhone? Everyone? iPhone X, put your hands down. iPhone 8. Anyone with the iPhone 6? All right. Okay, so your phone could produce this film. You don't need to buy a $1,500 iPhone X. And globally, 500 million devices could shoot this film. So there's no real excuse not to shoot it like this. We found when I first started shooting this film, I was shooting in sort of dark and dingy places, which isn't great for mobile photography or for cinema photography. Obviously, as time goes on, better phones have better lenses and processors in them, and they produce better results. But they suit big blue sky days, which luckily I'm in Brisbane, we have a lot of big blue sky days. But it also introduced me something that I could no longer pretend that I was in New York. I was shooting it in Brisbane, let's make it look like Brisbane. But if you were to take the same files and the same animations and everything else and to shoot them in Melbourne in a laneway or something like that, the product, your end result would be completely different, even though you'd be using the same scenes. It's the real world that really it really is the real world that determines how good your result is. The animation and everything else, if it doesn't tie in with what your surroundings are, you won't get a very good result. So behind the scenes. You can put your hands up at any time if you want to stop me or got any questions. So behind the scenes, this is how we did it. I'll show you a scene followed by the back end, so what we did in Unity to achieve what we did. This is March into Battle, which is about halfway through the short film. And this is how we did it in Unity, which is very, very simple. It's the same prefab 31 times or 30 times. It repeats itself. And the sci-fi soldier just walks through it. So very, very easy to create. I suspect most of you have Unity experience, could probably create that in about 5 minutes. And if you didn't have Unity experience, probably take you 2 hours. But you'd do it in 5 minutes the next time. So very, very simple. So all the game devs in the room could easily do this, I suspect. Yeah. There's nothing special about it. It's standard configuration for a mobile scene. Between 100 and 150 triangles per scene. It's just due to sheer limitations of the hardware. If I was using an iPhone X, I could probably bump that up to 200K. It's character-centric, like I was saying before. Animations are on loop, so if I miss something when I'm shooting it or I want a different angle, all I need to do is wait till the initial sequence is over, and the loop starts again. So if my animation is 10 seconds long and I haven't shot it correctly, I just wait another 10 seconds. It's like asking an actor to walk on stage and then walk on a stage again and again and again and again until they're happy, which is a great benefit. I can shoot obviously day or night and get the same result. From a production point of view, obviously the lighting and things will be different, but it's all on demand. I don't need to wait for people to get ready or anything like that. It's all, wait another 10 seconds, away I go. We touched on the smoking prefab. Obviously it was repeated 30 times. It was just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, spread out probably a metre apart. I used some asset store assets, the large scale smoke, which was what you saw was the smoke special effect. The explosion pack, which is when the soldiers jump and you see the explosion. The Earthling 3D model is the model used, which is the sci-fi soldier that walks through the smoke and the fire and battles the spaceship at the end. And the spaceship at the end is called the probe. And they're all available on the asset store. You can download them yourself. This is my whole point of creating a film that someone else could create themselves. This is another scene. And this is how we did it in Unity. So the spaceship stays static, but the drone is the only thing that moves, and it just loops. Like I was saying before, I've designed it that way, so again, if I wanted a better shot or wanted a shot from a different angle, it would automatically do that without me having to restart anything. So very, very simple principles. And that was the end result of that. It really was some key fundamentals that I repeated throughout the project. So even on the day of premiere, I was able to reshoot some scenes that I wasn't happy with in the space of 2 or 3 hours, and was put in the final edit only probably 2 or 3 hours before the film was premiered. So it's very, very quick filmmaking, very, very low budget. But if you want to do a high polished version of something like that, again, it's just what money you have available, what tools you have available, all that type of stuff, and obviously a bit of talent as well. You need to know how to drive some of the tools. Similar story to the previous slide around specs, so 100 to 150K triangles per scene. Again, just due to the limitation of the hardware we're using, it could go up to 250 if you're using iPhone X. The spaceship was static, as I mentioned. The drone animation is on loop, and that's, as I mentioned earlier, so we can get shots from different angles easily, not without having to wait too long. A small amount of visual effects, obviously just with explosions and so forth. No environment prefabs, so we were taking the real life, the real world as the background for the scene that we'd created. We weren't adding buildings or anything like that. We were just taking the Brisbane River and a cycleway that I'd shot on. And those are the asset store references. So if you were to look on the asset store right now, you could buy all those, how many is there? 5 assets and recreate the scene yourself.